All right, everyone, it's time to talk about some reverse psychology that I see being employed by Hillary Clinton with regards to Elizabeth Warren, especially with regards to her failed healthcare plan. Her pitch for socialist medicine, which is basically what it boils down to. You're talking 50 plus trillion over 10 years. You're talking a substantial proportion of the entire US GDP. US GDP is like 20 trillion. So 2.5 times our yearly GDP to be spent over 10 years. Now, I know some of that is, well, we already spend on medicine, so that, bless you, doesn't count. That doesn't matter. You're still talking about a massive increase. The fact is that for the average American, they'd pay more taxes. Warren is not like Bernie Sanders, though. Sanders is pitching to a far left crowd. His fans, his 15-20% share, is the far left of the Democratic Party. They don't care if he calls it socialism. They don't mind. In fact, they find it good. That's why they don't like Warren, by the way. Warren is taking the same plan, making it more expensive, more cumbersome, more burdensome, more verbose for no reason whatsoever, failing to even explain aspects of it properly to the point where even the liberal media is like, what the fuck? And then won't call it what it is, which is socialist healthcare. You can think that that has redeeming qualities or is better than what we have now or it's a genuine, authentic version of reform that will do people well. Okay, but at least be honest about what it is. Warren's not. And that's really become a sticking point. So, her initial pitch was a huge fumble. It was an enormous mistake for her to come out with it at the time she did in the manner that she did. She took a hell of a beating from the other candidates. Basically, Sanders and his people saying you stole our plan and you're not even explaining it well. What are you doing? Biden saying it can't be paid for. And now Hillary Clinton weighs in and she says the same. Well, I don't think that if she's elected that it'll actually get implemented. No, they won't go for that. She's running interference for war. And you've got to look through what she's saying through the lens of Hillary Clinton as at least decent in behind the scenes strategy. This is her forte. She is essentially trying to take the center left that is very hesitant to back a person like Warren based on this plan. The group of people most disenfranchised, most alienated by Warren's message right now are the center leftists. Far left doesn't mind, unless they're Bernie bros. People that aren't on the left aren't supporting her anyway. So it's that sweet spot, that block she needs to woo to rise up to become frontrunner. That's the group she's most hazarded herself with. Clinton is trying to calm their fears by saying, don't worry, if Warren's elected, you're not actually going to get this passed. There won't be socialist health care. She'll just tack more spending onto Obamacare. She'll offer a public option. She'll basically be going the Biden route, which, by the way, is technically okay, except that the government will fuck it up like it does everything else. The reason why I oppose a public option is the government will subsidize and throw money at it, and when it doesn't work, when it's unpopular, because the government is piss poor at such things, it will penalize private industry more in order to pump more money into the system. That's what ends up happening when the government tries to compete like a corporation. It hates to lose. But it doesn't care if it has to squirrel away a bunch of taxpayer money in order to make it look like it won. We've seen this with Solyndra and other things over time. Bridges to nowhere, wasteful spending of every possible type. When private industry could come in and do it much more efficiently, usually faster, certainly wouldn't have to abuse the U.S. taxpayer to do it, the government doesn't like that fact to be known too much. Elizabeth Warren fumbled. Her main pitch of this entire campaign, the thing that she wanted to use to sort of separate herself from the rest of the field, sort of make her the wheat to the chaff. The thing that she wanted to do was push healthcare that would strike that right chord. She's been good at balancing using the progressive label, taking up some leftist issues, but also presenting herself as the sane alternative to the actual far left, people like Bernie Sanders who throw around the term socialism and visit the USSR 30 years ago. She knows that's bad optics. She's a corporate candidate, so she has Hillary Clintonized the Bernie Sanders message in an attempt to grift it, to chunk off a piece of his support, cobble it together with some non-Biden center leftists and become nominee that way. Good strategy. Unfortunately, it's not working. On paper, it's a really good strategy. I will be the line. I will be the sane candidate. I'm the missing link. The progressive as opposed to the big bad evil socialist that no working class Democrat will ever vote for unless they're nuts, which some of Bernie Sanders fans arguably are, and Biden, who's incoherent, over the hill, doesn't really know what he's doing, and represents a return to the mid-2000s sort of status quo economics of a period that most people don't legitimately have nostalgia for. If you got Trump derangement syndrome, you probably have nostalgia. Oh, Obama was well-spoken, and he just looked more presidential, and he wasn't a bloated, egotistical gas bag. He was more academic and shined about things. Okay, wonderful. For anyone who actually has lost a job, deep in student debt and stuff, nobody has nostalgia for the Obama period. The only thing I have nostalgia for is a time when the tech firms still pretended to support free speech because Trump wasn't the president at the time. But Warren's fumble has become a way for Hillary Clinton to come in and basically make Warren kiss ring. Because you know that Hillary Clinton likes Elizabeth Warren. I don't think she has a problem with Biden either. The two frontrunners are both perfectly acceptable for the DNC. When Biden and Warren fans fight one another, it's hilarious because it's like they're fighting two separate heads of the same hydra. The DNC controls them both. Warren's not a progressive. She's never been a progressive. She was to the right of Joe Biden like 20 years ago, easily. You've got to understand that. In context, Elizabeth Warren is just a faker. She's just a faker who's taken the Bernie Sanders message and corporatized it and removed the label socialist. By attacking, seemingly on the surface, by attacking the idea of Warren being able to implement socialist healthcare, people who are already on the far left aren't going to listen to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton to them is just a meaningless sellout. If anything, it makes them want to support Warren more. At the same time, center leftists who tolerate a Clinton maybe more, even though obviously they don't have the desire for her to be in the race at this point. Bloomberg, by the way, running, Holder thinking about running. Oh, maybe it's her turn. Third time's a charm. Clinton 2020, Michelle Obama, Oprah. It's becoming a freak show again. Like it was, the race was deflating a little bit. Beto leaves and some of these others. Now it's getting crazy again. It's going to be hilarious all the way up through, I think. It's going to be more packed maybe in a week. Hillary Clinton is using reverse psychology. This is an attempt to get centrist voters to align with Warren, even though she has just fundamentally told them she's going to double their tax rates in many cases. Hey, you get a household, you're making maybe 80, 90K a year, you're doing all right, you've got the picket fence and the two-car garage. I'm going to screw you. I'm going to take 5, 10K away from your family. And by the way, Warren and all these others, they want to get rid of the Trump tax cuts. So you got like 3 kids. Right now, your tax write-off for your kids has been doubled over what it was in the past. Well, bye-bye to that. There's 2 or 3 grand extra that the government's not giving back to you of your own money. It's funny how we even call it to like a tax return or write-off or something. It just means the government has agreed to steal a little bit less from you for its shitty programs, shitty healthcare programs, shitty education. That the healthcare system is broken because the government constantly intervenes and creates pharma monopolies and drives the price through the fucking roof. Let's give government more power over healthcare. It'll certainly work this time. More government is your friend. No, it's not. It's because the United States isn't Europe. There's a different mindset, a different economy, totally different civic and legal structure in every possible way. Stop trying to convince me that we should be more like countries we simply can't be like. We're not Europe. We're not Finland. We're not Switzerland. We're the United States. It's different. When Bernie Sanders rambles about how great these other countries are, okay, Bernie, we get it. Go be an expat then. In the most literal sense, fucking go find greener pastures if there's such a fucking big problem. There's one thing that I'll tell you that the United States has that all these countries that it's being compared to don't have, and that's worldwide monopolar supremacy over trade routes, the need to pay for a massive military to maintain that trade structure, or else the world's economy will literally collapse. That's why we end up paying so much. Now, we have to be the world police, at least in the nautical sense, which, by the way, sucks. Other nations are now paying a little bit more of their share of that expenditure, thanks to Trump. Obama never did that. W never did. W looked the other way. He'd rather fritter off money to Africa, of all things. It's funny, because when he was president, he was called a racist, too. He never was. Quite clearly, he doesn't give a shit. Trump doesn't give a shit either. Elizabeth Warren might be, though, considering the fact that she panders all the time to racial demographics. Again, like that one group of, it was like black Latinx lesbian females for Warren or something. It was like this really, really small niche group. I can't imagine it has more than a few thousand members. She was crowing on Twitter about getting their endorsement. But when you do that, when you have such a limited niche sort of ideological wedge issue group like that and you get their endorsement, it doesn't even make sense to mention that to other people. Nobody's part of that group. They just feel alienated. They're like, okay, that's wonderful. I'm glad that Trump got the endorsement of gay grasshopper harvesters from southern Iowa, but it doesn't really mean anything to me. Be meaningful. Trump's slogan is Make America Great Again. That's pretty inclusive. If you look at what the Dems are offering, not so much. And with socialist healthcare, I don't want the government's healthcare. There's already a public option. In the state of Vermont, the exchange, the way it works there, it's basically public option aligned anyway. It doesn't matter. Go ahead and offer that. It'll cost a lot. It will up your taxes. It's not quite socialist because you still do have a private healthcare marketplace that'll outcompete the government unless it throws billions in subsidies to it, which it will. Where will it get that money? It's not going to be from Zuckerberg. It's not going to be from Google. It's not going to be from Bezos. Isn't going to pay for it. Bernie Sanders comes out with his bullshit. Oh, if Bill Gates got taxed at 100 billion, we could pay for all this shit and he'd still be a billionaire. Bill Gates isn't responsible for that, and that's a year-over-year expenditure. Are you going to take 100 billion from Bill Gates every year? Because within a few years, he won't have any money. He'd be broke, which is exactly what Bernie Sanders and these morons want. They love poor people so much they want to make everybody poor except for them themselves. That's about all. Peace out.